There we go with Bitcoin still holding very strong above our $67,000 price level. I think that this is still such a beautiful setup on this chart, still definitely firmly geared toward moving up, but I want to break it all down for you because it's not all going to be smooth sailing necessarily. It is a Sunday, which means it's the last day of the week. Sorry, I've just kicked you guys. And that means that we are potentially going to be seeing some really big events taking place on Monday. So let's first break down what's been happening here before we talk about all-time highs and lows and stuff like that. The first thing that I want to kind of get across is now that we've had a little bit of time since Bitcoin has gotten above our resistance level at 66, we have clearly topped out at $69,410. So right next to that 69,420 target. And since then, Bitcoin has sort of been trending down. We did actually punch in a series of lower lows and a series of lower highs. So you could definitely argue that, there's been some sort of a kind of downward channel like that. And the good news is that it's all kind of bled straight back into this support zone that we were expecting. Honestly, most of it has kind of happened in this support box here, which stretches from the mid 66k range to 67 basically, where we kind of mid 67 is where we've seen a lot of this stuff take place here, and I'm actually pretty okay with that. That's a good bit of kind of support for Bitcoin to be enjoying right now. We have come down to my kind of levels of no return, where I said, look, we can bounce off these levels, but we've got to, really got to recover these levels quickly. We did come back down again. This move did stop me out of my trade, so I did get stopped at break even after taking some profits. Overall, pretty negligible position. Really not a whole lot that happened. It was looking pretty good, but getting stopped at break even is totally fine. I love moving my stop loss to break even because it means that any profits I do make, I'm making them for free. There's no risk attached to it, which is, by the way, the exact same situation as the links in the description for you. When you start trading using these links, you're going to get free money in your account as a thank you from these exchanges. And Blowfin is super aggressive with the bonuses that they're giving out based on your trading volume. So this is super cool and well worth checking out. But unfortunately, a guy like me, I can't use those kind of offers. When you do check them out, make sure that you're allowed to with your restrictions with your region, if your region is restricted. I can't use those offers, unfortunately, so I've just got to trade like a normal person. And well, I guess that is what makes me not normal, because you guys can use it and I can't. But yeah, that's how I aim to achieve the same thing of risk-free trading. It's just a stop loss to break even, and so that kind of got stopped out, and it's no big deal. There are a ton more positions that I'm looking at right now. I'm going to be covering a few of them with you in this YouTube video. So if you are excited while you are down there checking out those huge bonuses, do me a favor and smash up those likes and double check, of course, that you are subscribed to the channel. But we did come down and tag this level of support, which is nice, and I think we've still got this support. So it's like I said, until and unless we kind of lose these levels, unless we kind of sweep this low or this low right here, either of them, I think Bitcoin's still in a pretty good place, and I think that Bitcoin is still poised to rise higher. Now, if we do kind of lose either of these two levels, then I think we certainly could be going down to the lower 60k regions. You got support down here at 63, 64, obviously the 61 kind of support zone is my personal favorite in this market here. And I think that, any of those levels are very realistic and very doable for Bitcoin, and I don't even think they would necessarily be particularly bearish if Bitcoin did end up coming down there. I'd actually be quite happy, if Bitcoin came down to some of those kind of slightly lower levels of support. So we're going to be watching that to see how that moves. And obviously, as we know, because we've kind of been spending a little bit of time up here, we have managed to develop some really nice support from our Ichimoku cloud now. And here on the 4-hour time frame, we are, kind of in the thick of it right now. We are enjoying a ton of support from the 4-hour Ichimoku cloud. It has successfully resulted in 2 really nice bounces off this cloud here, just with nice big deep wicks coming into the range and then moving back up. So that's a really big deal in my opinion, ladies and gents. Really, really nice move here. Another nice thing that's worth taking a look at is just the fact that, traditional finance has obviously been paused, right? It's been a weekend, it's Sunday. And so during this weekend, we haven't seen anything too crazy. And if we do continue to pick some strength back up on traditional finance on Monday, tomorrow, then things could actually be pretty sweet. So we're going to touch on that in a little bit. We're not quite ready to talk about that yet in this video. We're going to get there in a minute. But, that I think is super, super exciting. If we do keep it locked to Bitcoin here, support for the Ichimoku cloud stretches all the way down to kind of 64.2. I'm not going to say that I think we can get down that low and stay bullish. I think we will obviously still stay bullish, but not short term. I think that if we kind of get down that low, it's probably going to have to dip a fair bit lower. But yeah, the Ichimoku cloud does still quite like this range. If we look at this with 4-hour EMAs, it's probably not showing as much. Yeah, there's no spread on here, so there's no point looking at that. But on the daily, we have seen the daily EMA ribbon catch up to the market now. So that's what we were expecting. We were talking about this. We were kind of drawing those lines, extending them out. Obviously, that's ended up happening perfectly as we were expecting on this YouTube channel, and Bitcoin has already kind of bounced into them and found some support. So again, really, really good, healthy price action here, and just a ton of support. From this particular perspective, we do have support stretching all the way down to 64. To be honest, since you got the EMA here and you've got the Ichimoku, and it's still, let's not forget, it is still a horizontal level that, offers some support. I think you could actually reasonably argue that support could kind of stretch down as low as kind of 64. The only way, to be honest, that I see Bitcoin getting down to 64, though, unless it gets bad, the only way I see Bitcoin getting down to 64 is in, a pattern that looks a little bit like this. So, that's to say that we kind of keep doing this for the next, couple of weeks, just really just 1 or 2 weeks. It wouldn't take too long. And then we kind of come down, capture a nice block of support, and then we can go. It would actually be really healthy for the market. So, I'm open to it. At this point, I think we all just kind of want this thing to pump, but it doesn't really matter what we want. Ultimately, the market's going to do what the market has to do. So I think that's important to keep in mind. Bitcoin's dominance has reached my target. So congratulations. Shout out to those of you that have been paying attention to this YouTube channel over the last weeks, months, years, actually, plural. We have been making this Bitcoin dominance prediction for a very long time, and Bitcoin has officially met my target. Now, usually I'd be a little bit more theatric when I take credit for being so correct about something, but this one has just been fucking exhausting because of how long I've been saying the same thing, and how many times people were like, but are you sure, Sammy? Like, yes, motherfucker, I am actually sure. I think this was quite obvious, and so yeah, we are here now. Obviously, I think this thing is going to keep on going up. It's a really bad chart. If we take a look at this from Benjamin Cowan here on Twitter, alt Bitcoin pairs have put in a new low for the cycle today. The alt reckoning never ended. The only thing that ended was people's patience to watch it play out. Benjamin Cowan just always coming in with the with the perfectly summarized takes over here. We've got total 3 USDT against the dollar against Bitcoin, and you can just see that the overall kind of market share of altcoins versus Bitcoin has continued to dip here on the weekly time frame, really down to absolute low levels that we kind of saw in 2019, 20, and 2021. That's kind of the next stop for altcoins here, and that's going to be the reason that I think Bitcoin's dominance can keep on rising. This kind of move right here. Take a look at this, right? Like, you initially kind of hit resistance, okay, whatever, we overshot it, and then we came back down. But this move here from here up to here, that would kind of be the same thing as returning back down to this yellow line. And do I think that that's possible? Hell yeah, absolutely. I do think that's possible, especially at this stage right now. I think that altcoins are just still, all you have to do is look at them, right? If you look at them against the dollar, they're at absolute lows right now, right? Like, it's kind of like, well, how much lower can they go? But yeah, if they start losing support levels, Cardano, which is obviously a big coin, if it kind of drops from here, the best area of support that Cardano has right now, I would say is at about 24 cents. But, from current price to get down there, that's, you're looking at another kind of 30% drop. But if you forget all of that, and you just kind of look for the kind of support that these markets had pre-2021, you're looking at much bigger drops. This is a 46% drop to get down there from, roughly current price. And, you're going to see this picture across the board. Solana, I don't know why I'm showing you Solana, because Solana is uniquely strong. It's actually one of the coins where I wanted to make a trade. I was actually telling you guys about this trade on a live stream. I didn't end up taking it, which is kind of annoying, but I was talking to you about this trade, and I did actually outline it. I told you guys that obviously you get a ton of free cash if you want to trade on these exchanges, depending on if you're allowed to, of course, in your country. You know, we were talking about a kind of $159 entry, and just look at exactly where Solana fell down to, ladies and gents. Just exactly $190, exactly where I told you I'd be entering. You know, and so that hypothetical position paying me very nicely in my next lifetime, hopefully. But yeah, we've seen that bounce here for Solana. I still think opportunities like this are, you know, kind of a dime a dozen right now. So that's why I'm just making, you know, casual jokes about missing such an easy trade, because this would have been such an easy profit, by the way. I mean, look at that. That's like, you know, that's some nice profit right there. Where would my stop loss have been? Probably would have put a stop loss around there. So yeah, probably 5x leverage. Yeah, 50% profit. I'll just, you know, try not to cry too hard right now. The other position, you know, as you did see, only got closed at break even, but it's okay. It's okay. We move on. We'll continue on with alts here, and you know, again, the point that I wanted to make is, I mean, yeah, look at here at ARB. I mean, you know, this is kind of at a low really for this chart, and it's at all-time lows. You know, kind of since it started to trade here, at least on Binance. So, you know, I mean, these coins are fucked. There's no other way around it. You know, Ethereum against Bitcoin, you know, just dying. I mean, look at this. It's just dying. It's doing horribly right now. You know, and it's not, this performance is not surprising. We knew that this was going to happen. It was really obvious. And now we're just kind of seeing the full, you know, round one of the manifestation of what I was saying. I mean, this is, you know, this is kind of just the, you know, just the first target that I at least was looking at. I mean, my target originally probably looked a little bit, you know, more like that. But I did end up moving it. But other than that, it's the only first target that I had on the chart, and you know, next target is going to be, you know, significantly higher. The good news is that the higher this thing goes, the better it's going to be on the downside, right? When Bitcoin dominance does start dropping, or if, because there's no guarantees, but if it does start dropping, then actually it's going to be a really, really easy opportunity to start making money. I mean, it's gotten so high now, right? I mean, if it starts a rally at 60% and then it kind of drops, this kind of drop would just mean a shit ton of money goes from Bitcoin into altcoins. So it would be really good. It would be really bullish. You know, and what better than, you know, starting it here? You know, well, it would be starting it all the way up here, because now we have, you know, even more you know, money that can go from Bitcoin into alts. And you know, I mean, just going from here down to like here would be, you know, life-changing money. So you can kind of do the math on what the rest of it would look like. So really, really good stuff. I mean, just a super healthy market from that perspective. I'm very, very happy with what we're seeing here. We're going to go on to traditional finance, like I said, in just a minute. But if we keep it locked to the Bitcoin chart here, the key thing that I think we need to do is we need to get above these highs, right? I mean, we haven't been able to punch in a higher high so far, and that's why Bitcoin has kind of been suppressed a little bit. We're going to have to watch this to see how it goes. Does this turn into a kind of deeper grab for liquidity and then come back up? But I think that as soon as we kind of start sweeping any of these highs, you know, we get one, I think we're going to get the other, and then so on. I'm really not too worried about it. I think that this market should have a pretty easy time, you know, continuing to move on higher, you know, and break through those resistance levels. So we're going to be keeping an eye on this for sure to kind of see how this continues to develop. But I think as it stands right now, good stuff. If we do break the high, easy moves to the next resistance levels. Obviously, we only have really $71,000, $72,000 left, this kind of general green zone here. You know, but beyond that, it's just all-time highs and beyond, really. So, you know, I think it's going to be, you know, I think it's still quite an easy ride. I think we're pretty much done. You know, I think, you know, we've got to see how these support levels hold. If they do hold, then I think we're good. If these resistance levels break, then I think we really kind of recontinue. Bitcoin's dominance still poised in that direction. If we do pop upwards, Bitcoin's dominance is going to shoot up. I think it'll get well above 60%. And if we crash down, then Bitcoin's dominance is also, I think, going to shoot up. You know, so again, in both cases, you're still losing if you're in altcoins. Let's continue taking a look at some of the other tweets here, and this is, you know, this is kind of the point, right? I mean, you know, why if relaxed Bitcoin is still around 60K, me knowing my portfolio is 90% in alts. This is the thing, right? People that, you know, and we've been, you know, hammering on about this for, like I said, days, weeks, months, and years, plural, on this YouTube channel. Those of you that are subscribing are going to be so intimately familiar with all of these ideas we've been talking about, that just alts have been such a horrible decision to be holding for the last years. And the writing was on the wall, right? I mean, if you did want to pay attention, if you were kind of, you know, even listening to channels like this one, which there aren't very many, but if you were, then you wouldn't have been blindsided by this, right? But if you're kind of a little bit more, FOMO driven, you get driven a little bit more by a fear of missing out and, all of those things, which are quite frankly a little bit more negative as a trader, then yeah, you are going to be seeing Bitcoin pretty much holding the same level, but somehow your portfolio is down. And it's a shit position. It's hard to recover from. And I think the worst part, but also the best part about it, is that really the only way to recover, there's two key options you get, right? When you're in a position like this, you either fucking leave, you just quit, or you continue but you do things differently. And I guess the good and the bad news is that the only way really to recover this, whether you're down 90% or 99% or 95%, each of which there is a big difference between each of them, by the way, or if you're just down 70 or 80 or 50%, the path upwards is always the same. It's slow and steady, ladies and gents. That's all it is. It is slow and steady growth upwards, with good systems, good principles, good rule sets, good policing of yourself, good enforcement of those rules, right? That's really important too. But, beyond that, there's not a whole lot. You can try it, you can jump back in alts, or you can get back on whatever next fucking bandwagon everybody and their grandmother is on. But it didn't work here, and it's not going to work next time either. It just doesn't work. I mean, that's why that kind of slow and steady path is the only one that works. And I had this issue too, right? When I started to trade, I mean, I was doing horribly at the very, very beginning, and then I ended up deciding I'm going to stop looking for shortcuts. And maybe trading itself, maybe being a trader, maybe just being in this market itself is the shortcut. So now that I'm here, I should stop looking for more shortcuts, and I should just do it, and I should do it properly. And I swear to you guys, I mean, this is part of my story I've told publicly many, many times. You guys can just kind of Google me or whatever and see it. This is the same story I've always told. It was precisely at that moment that things started to get better for me, where I did everything boring and everything clinical and everything as I was told to. And then all of a sudden, I just stopped losing money and I just started making money. And it happened way quicker than I thought it was possible. And that is because, at that, crypto is just so volatile that there's just so much opportunity here. There's always so many chances to make money here. So I think that's great. Let's take a look at this. This is interesting. 8 days until Bitcoin goes parabolic, according to this guy here. And we've got a chart of US election days, which is generally obviously going to be basically right here, compared to Bitcoin's price during previous election cycles. So pink right here represents 2012 to 2013, and we saw a really nice kind of continuation of the existing bull trend right after the election day. It did actually take a minute to continue to pump up. It really took its time, actually. It took about another month or two, but then it just went crazy, right? I mean, beginning of 2013, it just went crazy over here. The next occasion here is blue. This was 2016 to 2017. So I actually entered Bitcoin. Those of you that are curious, probably like somewhere around here is where I entered Bitcoin. And this is when Bitcoin was worth about, $2,000. And yeah, I mean, election day happened and we kind of continue to grind upward, and then, you get the nice big move followed by the retracement. So just normal standard price action. The election just marked the midway point for the uptrend, right? I mean, it kind of bottomed out way down here, and this was almost sort of the midway point in terms of time, not in terms of price, right? I mean, in terms of price, it went so much higher. And it's kind of similar for what happened in 2012 as well, right? I mean, the uptrend kind of probably would have started down here. So similar to, the blue line, this is kind of the bottom. You can tell the pink isn't really moving up over here. So it kind of marks the, it's not even the halfway point. It's more like the 33% mark, like you've got more bull market ahead of you than behind you when the election day comes, typically, right? That's what we've seen. Obviously, yellow is going to be the most recent election, the one where Biden was elected. And it was just mid-pump and it continued on. Right after Biden was elected. So, these U.S. elections are big bullish catalysts. We're already in an uptrend. We've kind of, we're almost in our bottom right now, which is super interesting. I still don't think that this election in particular is going to be any different, whether it's Kamala or Trump that get elected. I still think that we're going to see a continuation of this trend where Bitcoin tends to perform very well around the election seasons. It might take a little bit longer. I don't even think it will. I think it's going to be a lot quicker now, but it could take longer. And I think that even if it does, it would be completely fine. And I think that, no matter what, we're still going to be seeing Bitcoin, easily double, if not significantly more than that. We got Michael Saylor patting himself on the back for making the magnificent 8 in terms of trading volume. Take a look at this. 5.9 thousand millions traded. I don't know what the hell that number means. It looks like it says 5.9 billion, but somebody correct me if I'm wrong. Definitely quite a lot of traded volume. I think Bybit dwarfs them though, so that's interesting. Very, very funny indeed. And obviously the same chart that we were looking at from Benjamin here. And here, the Kingdom of Bhutan now owns 13,380 Bitcoin worth $905 million. So we've got another government in the world buying significant stockpiles of Bitcoin up. Obviously, I think one of the other biggest ones is going to be El Salvador. But you've got various other governments all around the world at least interested, or who have already bought, or who have it through seizing stuff. Or who just, we don't know how, we don't know if they've bought it because they haven't announced it. But I think a very, very common kind of trend that we're seeing here now, where governments around the world own the US government itself owns a shit ton of Bitcoin. A lot of it has been seized from things like Silk Road, but they still own the Bitcoin. And I think, tons of other governments have already bought, little bits, or at least it's part of some sort of kind of sovereign wealth fund. Very, very typical. I think that we've seen this already. So good to see that that's kind of continuing here. And like I said, for Bitcoin, it's going to be a case of sweeping those highs. I do think that it's going to be tied to traditional finance. And so if we take a look at the S&P 500, it was an okay close to the week, right? I mean, it could definitely close with a nice kind of gap down now and continue trading downwards. And if that did end up happening, I think it would definitely drag Bitcoin down to some lower support levels, which would be completely okay. I'd be very, very happy with that. I still think that there'd be tons of opportunities to buy Bitcoin, at least for some kind of excited positions for a move up. So I'm going to be kind of keeping an eye out for that, and I'll be letting you guys know if I see anything there as well. But I do think that, the S&P 500, it's still in an uptrend. I'm not doubting that, but I mean, it could certainly gap down a little bit and continue on lower to some support. It could also just continue up. I don't know. It's almost more of a coin toss with the S&P 500, but generally leaning more bullish than bearish. But even if it's bearish, I think it's still completely fine. The dollar, I think, is what's much more interesting, and the dollar is going to start. This market is going to start in an hour and a half from the time we're recording this video. So we'll see what happens. But I think that if the dollar kind of sweeps this high, then S&P is probably going to go down. But if the dollar does continue to correct, then that could be what really sets the S&P 500 off. It could be what really sets it off, and it could start flying, and that's when I think Bitcoin's just gonna breeze through 70k and so on. Personally, I hope that we get a little bit more of a pullback on Bitcoin. I hope we get a bit more of a pullback on the S&P. I don't know if we're actually going to get it, but it would be nice. I think I would love to have a chance to kind of re-enter my long. Whether I get it or not, I don't know. Obviously it just doesn't matter, because there are so many other opportunities in the market that are opening up, including Bitcoin longs, right? I mean, there are great Bitcoin longs just kind of, above some of these highs. I think some kind of momentum style trades where, Bitcoin crosses this line and then I'm in kind of thing. So that's something I consider. I'd consider anything with the free cash that they have, because I have nothing to lose. So if you guys think that sounds cool, check it all out with the links in the description. You'll only get paid by them when you start trading using these links, so just keep that in mind. But yeah, great options here. Blowfin, like I said, very aggressive bonuses, so they're well worth checking out. But only use these platforms if you're allowed to in your country with your laws. So definitely check all that out. But with that, ladies and gents, I am pretty much done. So I'll see you all in the next one. I hope you've enjoyed this one. You know what to do if you have, and I'll see you all next. Cheers. Bye.